Opening the flank, white immediately challenges central control and prepares to develop knights to their natural squares. Developing the knight to a dynamic central square, preparing to challenge white's early pawn push and potentially castling soon. Establishing central dominion, this thrust immediately contests space and opens diagonals for the queen and bishop, signaling aggressive intentions. Embarking on a fianchetto strategy, black immediately signals intent to control the long diagonal and prepare for kingside castling, potentially generating dynamic counterplay against white's central pawn structure. Developing the knight to c3 sharpens white's control over the central squares, aiming to unbalance black's fianchetto setup. Posing a fianchettoed bishop here solidifies the dark squares and prepares for central expansion, setting the stage for a dynamic positional struggle. Seizing central space, white plants a pawn to challenge black's flank development and prepare kingside castling. Solidifying central control and opening lines, for the bishop paves the way for active piece play. Fortifying the kingside pawn structure, this move prepares for an early fianchetto and solidifies the center. Securing the monarch is paramount, bringing it to safety behind a wall of pawns and pieces. Developing the bishop further enhances the fianchetto's reach, setting up a powerful diagonal. Solidifying the center and preparing for pawn expansion, this knight now eyes the d4 square, a classic king's Indian setup. Preparing to unleash the king's knight for active battle, possibly targeting the kingside. Fortifying the bishop's diagonal control now, this piece prepares for a potential queenside expansion or solidifies the central pawn structure. Prophylaxis against a potential kingside attack or bishop threat, while subtly preparing for kingside expansion. Solidifying the kingside pawn structure creates a defensive barrier, though it somewhat blocks the bishop's diagonal access for now. Developing the bishop towards the kingside, this piece aims to participate in the center and potentially eye the h6 pawn. Securing the queenside's future, this pawn advances to prevent an enemy bishop's intrusion or to prepare a queenside expansion. Preparing for a queenside pawn thrust, while also connecting the rooks, opens up the central files for pressure. Securing the king from potential queenside pressure, this maneuver prepares for a potential kingside expansion or a later retreat. Initiating a pawn storm on the kingside, this aggressive advance aims to break open lines and target black's potentially exposed monarch. Repositioning the knight to g8 suggests a long-term plan to activate it on a different part of the board, perhaps f6 or h6, but it abandons central control for now. Securing the king's flank with castling now brings white's pieces closer to the center's battleground. Challenging the center immediately sacrifices pawn structure for active piece play and potential central control. Opening that center diagonal invites queenside pressure and challenges black's pawn structure. Reclaiming the pawn opens lines, yet it potentially sacrifices central control for active piece play. Unleashing a pawn storm, white aims to shatter black's kingside defenses and exploit the weakened dark squares around the king. Embracing the open g-file creates immediate tactical chaos for white's king, disrupting the pawn structure's integrity. Unlocking the e-file presents a potent attacking avenue, though it significantly weakens your king's defenses. Introducing the rook to the b-file aims to pressure white's queenside and prepare for pawn advances, a promising maneuver. Centering the rook on the open d-file aims to apply immediate pressure and contest control of that vital central conduit. Unburdening the kingside knight unlocks potential attacking avenues. Opening the f-file with the knight immediately pressures black's weakened kingside pawns and initiates a promising central assault. Unleashing the bishop to d7 was a solid idea, but now it finds itself somewhat passive, staring at a pawn chain it can't readily influence. Shifting the queen to the queenside reasserts pressure, eyeing potential weaknesses created by black's pawn structure and preparing for a queenside advance. Challenging white's queenside presence, this maneuver aims to untangle black's pieces and potentially prepare a queenside counterplay. Unleashing the kingside pawn storm now risks weakening white's own monarch. Unleashing the rook to the open g-file aggressively targets white's weakened kingside pawn structure. Exploiting the open g-file, white intends to crack open the kingside and expose the black monarch.